Hey everyone, this is Kenny from Broadstreet. I couldn't be with you today, but I did want to do a video of this talk just so you could refer back to it, and if I posted it to YouTube or something like that. I wanted to give you a presentation on how to get set up with a basic news site. So I'm going to talk about finding a WordPress host. I'm going to talk about Blargo, which is an option for a WordPress theme, which has a lot of handy features, which might help you out in the future, and some of the other things Broadstreet does. Broadstreet is we started out as an ad serving company. So the ads that you see in a lot of the local news publications, especially in New Jersey, we have about 1,500 publications who use us around the country. But in New Jersey, that's where we started. And Baristanet, Red Bank Green, some of the New Jersey publications that you might think about, Cliffview Pilot, for example, they use Broadstreet for their ad tech. So the ads are served by Broadstreet for some of the publications like Red Bank Green. We have a product called Editable Ads, and if you go to Red Bank Green's website and look at the top left, you'll see that. But the point is, we kind of see ourselves as part of the indie community in a way. We started out, Broadstreet was just kind of an idea. Editable Ads was the first product we ever had. We went to the Lion Publishers Conference, or at the time it was Block by Block, and met everybody. And we kind of saw ourselves as like, hey, there's this community of indie publishers out there. A lot of them need the technical or the platforms to launch these publications that are online, because there weren't a whole lot of options for ad serving and different ad products and stuff like that. I was like, why don't we be that side of it? So I was before Broadstreet, I was working at Yahoo on the Right Media Exchange, which is an ad network. My partner John Capezzi was the lead engineer at AOL's Patch, and we eventually left those two and started Broadstreet. So Broadstreet's been around for almost 2 years officially, a little less than 2 years unofficially. We're around since the very beginning of 2012, and actually incorporated much later on in the year. So let's talk about getting set up with a website. So if you're using WordPress, and I think you probably should be using WordPress, because almost all of the publishers in New Jersey Newscoms, not all of them, but most of them are using WordPress. WordPress is such a popular CMS that it accounts for about 25% of the internet. Now, because you're going to use WordPress, you want a really good host. That's basically the server, or basically the company that hosts your WordPress instance for you. So you want a really good company to do that, and it's kind of hard to find a good company. Now, there aren't a whole lot of good companies out there, believe it or not. There, GoDaddy, Bluehost, Midphase. Those are the classic ones. When people want to get a website, they think GoDaddy or something like that. I recommend not going with GoDaddy. Small Orange used to be a popular one in the indie community. They were since bought out by the same company as Bluehost. Don't go with Small Orange. I'm a huge fan of WP Engine. And so now I should probably say that Broadstreet is affiliated with WP Engine. We weren't always affiliated, but they were so consistently good at what they did that we decided to partner up with them and just mutually recommend each other's services. So get a WordPress host like WP Engine. If you do want to use WP Engine, you can go to broadstreetads.com/WP Engine, and that'll redirect you to like some deal page or something like that. So you want to get an account with WP Engine, you want to get a domain, you want to point that domain to your new WordPress host, and that might have sounded very abstract. How do I point a domain? In that case, if you can't figure it out yourself, WP Engine probably has some documentation on how to do that. You can hire a freelance developer, and I'll get to that, or you can hire someone from WP Valet. So it takes all of 30 minutes, but the basic idea is that you want to point yournewswebsite.com to WP Engine. So when someone types that in, it goes to WP Engine, and WP Engine recognizes, or your place in WP Engine recognizes itself as yournewswebsite.com. So something I've never done before is made a freelance recommendation. Normally well, I've made freelance recommendations in person, but not necessarily via presentation. But I'm a big fan, really big fan of Kate Gilbert's work. She did northwest.bergenpress.com for Rebecca Abma and a partnership with Jerry DeMarco too. But if you check out that site, she did an amazing job with Blargo, which is a WordPress theme I'm about to talk about. So if you need someone to help you out, I've been recommending her like crazy, and she's been accepting the recommendations, and she does a great job. And I can't stress how difficult it is to find a reliable WordPress developer. Talk to most publishers in New Jersey who've had a developer at one point, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, he stopped answering my emails, or it was going great, and then we had a dispute, and then it didn't work out. It seems like that is the case for about, I'll make up statistic here, 80% of publishers, but just based on how much I've heard that. So, and sometimes the publisher is crazy. Sometimes they drive the developer. It works both ways. But a lot of times it is very hard. A lot of WordPress developers are sort of flaky, and if they become frustrated with your website, they'll move on somewhere else. And Kate Gilbert has been awesome. So. Anyway, I recommend talking to her if you end up needing someone to help out. I can always answer light questions, but I do like to make recommendations of people who do that specifically. She's a freelancer, and she does a great job. So some really nice to haves when you are picking a WordPress host. Like I said, I recommended WP Engine, but you don't have to go with WP Engine. Reliability is huge, so you don't want your site going down. If a host is $2 a month, there's a good chance it's not very high quality. So WP Engine, I think, is $29 a month or something like that. So it's a lot more expensive than a regular host, but you get a lot out of it. You get a development and staging site, which you'll never appreciate, but your developer probably will, which means you have a copy of your site where you can make changes and not affect the actual readers of your site. WP Engine takes automated backups, so not all hosts do this. Sometimes you have a lot of data, you have a lot of pictures. Over the course of 5 years, you're going to have a lot of news stories and all those assets that go with those news stories. You want automated backups. You want a strategy for getting unhacked. So WP Engine has a insurance policy with a security firm where if you do get hacked, which does happen, some of the biggest sites have been hacked, and when it does happen, you want a way to get unhacked, basically, have someone clean it up for you, and WP Engine has an insurance policy to pay for a company to do that. Site caching, that's kind of easy to take for granted, but you want your site to be speedy. You don't want to be hitting, all your articles are in the database, and when you publish new articles for the day, you don't want every time your website has a request for a specific article, you don't want your website going and hitting the database and then grabbing that article information, serving back up to the user. You want it to it's called caching, where it keeps it kind of in memory and just serves it up to the user really fast. It keeps your site really fast. FTP, yes, that's so you can drop files on the site. You want database access. All of this is included on WP Engine. And like I said, I used to recommend for alternatives to WP Engine. I used to recommend a small orange, and I can't even do that anymore because I've had I think Crystal Knapp at Planet Princeton hasn't had a very good, at least recently since they've been acquired. It hasn't been very good. So the next steps to think about, this is just basic. That has nothing to do with actually getting set up for the site, but it's good to think about. Think about your logo, Facebook page, Twitter account, newsletter, how you're going to integrate that with ads if you plan to, and then lastly your WordPress theme. So this is really what the point of the talk is about. It's about Blargo, and to kind of present to you the option of Blargo as a WordPress theme for your site. So I will show you very quickly what Blargo looks like. This is what it looks like. Right now I'm on the installation guide page. I should probably go to the main page. And I am on a wireless connection, so it's not that the Blargo site is slow, it's that I'm running off my iPhone for internet right now. So this is the Blargo site. This is kind of what it looks like, and it's very customizable. I think we can go to northwest.bergenpress.com. Let's take a look. All right, so so Kate Gilbert did this one. Blargo sites, they can be customized so they look very different from each other. But here's Northwest Bergen Press. I think they've done an awesome job. If you click into an article, okay, that's the way that looks. So I think, let me keep that open. So I think they've done a very good job. Um, But getting back to the Blargo site, there's some benefits to using Blargo, but this is the basic look and feel. It comes with ads built in and a few other things, but I should really get back to the presentation. So Blargo, it's a WordPress theme. It's a child theme of Largo. So you might think Blargo is a terrible name. Why would anyone name it that? Well, it was kind of uncreative, but it was based on the Largo theme by the Investigative News Network, which if you type in Largo INN into Google, you're gonna find the Largo website and talk about the project. You're gonna see all the sites that use that theme, and you're actually gonna see some indie publishers that if you go to the Lion Conference, you're gonna see. I think Yellowstone Gate uses it. I think a few sites down in New Orleans use it, or Louisiana. So it's a child theme of Largo, built by the Investigative News Network, which was already built for news websites. So Blargo is an extension of Largo. It comes with SEO, so search engine optimization, to make sure that your news stories get to the top. Caching, which I spoke about before, and then it has some pretty good just little workflow tweaks to WordPress. So if you're working with multiple editors, things are a little bit easier to manage. Blargo has an ad system built in. It's called Broadstreet, and like I said, Broadstreet does ad serving. We always that's how we really got started. So it's usually kind of a big pain when a publisher gets started. They say, okay, I want to sell my first ad. They get their first ad sale, and then you say, okay, well, I need to track the impressions and clicks and things like that. And then you get a WordPress plugin that kind of does it or doesn't do it very well. And if you do get a WordPress plugin, it usually takes a big performance hit out of your site. So ideally, you would like to use kind of a cloud-hosted third-party system, because that's going to be the fastest for your site. A lot of publishers, My Admin's News out in Washington is a perfect example. They were using Ad Rotate for a really long time, and Ad Rotate's a great plugin, but at some point it becomes a serious performance issue, and then the migration becomes a nightmare. So you want to use something that keeps the load off of your site and keeps your site serving up news stories, which is what it does best. Blargo comes with a few different color schemes, but it's still customizable if you want to. Edit the CSS, the style sheets, or your developer wants to really give it a facelift or something like that. And then there are different style options. So you saw the backdrop. Here I have the Brooklyn Bridge just because it looked nice. But if you go to Northwest Bergen Press, and the backdrop's optional, you can also set transparency and things like that. But different options like that. So you already saw this. I had it as and then here's New Canaanite. I think New Canaanite, Michael at New Canaanite was the first ever to use Blargo, and then Jamaica Plains News at I think they're both expatchers, but Jamaica Plains News, which I don't have a screenshot of, also uses it, and I think there are probably about 15 to 20 other sites that are using it, and I think out of those, I think 10 are really serious, along the lines of Northwest Bergen, Jamaica Plains News, and New Canaanite. The other benefit of using Blargo and Largo is that they're both open source. As Largo makes changes, as Largo makes changes, or the Largo team makes changes to the Largo core platform, because it's open source, you get those changes, and so next time you reinstall the theme, you have all those changes, all the bug fixes, things like that. Same thing with Blargo. If someone reports a bug, which has happened in the past, we push a fix for it, and it goes out, and then everyone can reinstall it. So getting to ads very quickly, I'll go over a very basic installation of Blargo pretty soon. It won't be the full thing, but it'll be fairly basic. You'll see how to get started. I just wanted to talk about ads very quickly because the ad units are built into Blargo, and I think it's in a very flexible way. But I want to explain some of the logic behind how we did what we did. So the traditional Indy setup, if you look at Red Bank Green started out like this, and they've gotten much better. they had a lot of non-standard ad sizes, and this goes for a lot of indie news publishers. Non-standard ad sizes. So standard ad sizes are like 300 by 250. But a non-standard ad size might be like, I think whatever Red Bank used to have, which was it 234 by 60 or something like that, which is these small little tiles. I think they still have them on the site. So a lot of really small ads, which starts out really nice, but eventually it becomes an eyesore. They all have 100% run of site, which means they show up on every single page, and they all have 100% share of voice, which means throughout every different page view, it's the same exact ad. So all ads on every page, and they're always in the same spot or the same, or basically always on a page load. So a better idea is to use standard ad sizes, especially in the sidebar, 300 by 250, and you'll see the Blargo ad units are named, or the zones that we create for you are named 300 by 250 to give you a hint. You don't have to use 300 by 250s, but to give you a hint. We have in Blargo, you can also target to the home category and in-story pages. So there's very specific targeting. That's something that's actually fairly difficult to achieve, but we have it set up that way with Blargo. You can target multiple categories of posts, or you can target the home page, or you can target a specific news story, which comes in handy sometimes. And it also comes with a few big placement areas. So if we go back to Blargo, you can see this 960 by 120. So I was preaching about standard ad sizes, but there is a case for non-standard ad sizes, and I think for big, I think a lot. It is to the benefit of indie publishers to be really creative with their ad sizes. Basically you want to outsell your competition. You want to give, you want to put a little imagination into it. So we created the monster slots very top. If you have an advertiser who can afford to purchase, I would imagine this would probably be one of your more expensive slots. If you have an advertiser who would be interested in it, we wanted to have something like that would appeal to their ego. We also have this zone right here in the header. You can see the zones. Everywhere you see an ad is where we have an ad zone. This is a fun one right here. I'll get to that later. So getting back to the presentation. So let me find it. So this is a mock-up of how I used to recommend and how I still recommend publishers set up their ad zones. So they have this big top leaderboard zone. They have this ad to the right, and they don't have to appear, but they can appear. The point is just to have the option. And it talks about the share of voice, how much you would like to get per month per user. So you might say like, okay, 57,600. That's over the course of a year if this was fully booked at maximum share of voice in a few different categories. So the point is, I always tell publishers, try to plan out your ad inventory so you can hit some revenue goals. So that when a lot of publishers start out, they sell an ad, they put it on the site, they sell an ad, they put it on the site, but not really an idea of like, okay, how many, like, where am I going with this? How many ads am I selling before, and if I do max out the number of ads I have on this page, like how much revenue is that bringing in? I like to say, think about it first. Maybe build out a table like this, which basically talks about the share of voice, where the zone will show up, how big it is. And so I always provide, I think, and if you go to Broadstreet's blog, you're going to find it says a guide to ad unit planning, but these are basically the slides in it. It's a little more in depth, but I like to say plan it out on the page and kind of plan out how much you're going to bring in from each different ad unit. But Blargo makes this possible. It's set up almost exactly this way, and doing the share of voice and targeting to different pages is entirely possible. So another interesting aspect of Blargo is that, let's just go to it real quick over here. What I'm going to do, let's drag this out a little. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crunch this window down, kind of like it was an iPhone, but it's not. So you can see that a few different things happen. So number one, the site is responsive, so you can see that it looks pretty good, and then the ads will crunch down. So one feature that's coming up, this is something that no other WordPress theme does. Actually, if we go down, you're going to see most of the ads get pushed to the bottom, and there's a reason that happens. So the ads get pushed to the bottom because in HTML, this is a two-column page, and these ads have to go somewhere. This entire column has to go somewhere. It's not like the ads can be interspersed with the content, but one thing we want to do, no other WordPress theme does it because most of the developers don't really understand the needs of publishers who sell ads, is to actually, as this site crunches down, intersperse these ads with the content. So I think that'd be really interesting. So we're going to do that. It's coming out fairly soon for Blargo, probably by the end of the summer. So we have those responsive ad units. I explained that. You have the targeting to the home category and story pages. You can do in-story ads, which I think on the tips and tricks page, we have an in-story ad right here. And that's an actual ad, so you can't see it in the status bar, but it's linking to ad.broadstreetads.com. You can have multiple ads per zone, and like I said, this is all based off the ad unit planning guide, right? So why Broadstreet? So we, obviously built in Broadstreet's technology into Blargo. So you can use an alternate ad serving technology. That's totally fine. If you want to do it, I do obviously recommend that you use Broadstreet. But we were built for specifically for indie publishers. We haven't really taken in any feedback from anyone outside of indie publishers. Very responsive support. We have a new question and answer site launched for users who just have different ideas. It actually kind of doubles as a support site. So if you go to howto.broadstreetads.com, it's kind of like Stack Overflow. You may not be familiar with it, but it's very popular in the programmer world. It's just question and answers to technical things. So you can see mostly everything's answered. Some of them are, I still have to get to. So some of the basic, if you had a question like what is the zone count mean? Eventually, you'll probably have that question eventually. That's basically how many ads will show up in an individual zone. So you'd say, what is advertisement count on the edit zone page? That's exactly what I was looking for. You can see there's some information on what advertisement count is. So like I said, responsive support. We have the most common needs supported. Like I said, share of voice and the different features, and you'll see that we have many more features, but we try and keep it fairly simple to use. And then we also have things that that nobody else really has. So automated email reports for statistics, so clicks, views, impressions. We also do hover tracking, so how many users have hovered over an ad. So that's a nice statistic to give to your advertisers. Advertiser login. So if you have a savvy advertiser who wants to log in and see their statistic or change their ad around, they can actually edit their ad on their own, so they don't have to send you the creative and you have to re-upload it. We have a product called Editable Ads, which I'm not even going to, I have a lot to talk about, so I'm probably not going to get into it here, but we do have the information on our website. It's a way for the publishers to actually update their ads via Facebook or Twitter. So they post a picture of a really gnarly sandwich and it gets pulled into an ad on Red Bank Green, and we have a lot of other publishers using it. We also have Broadstreet's ad network, so this is something we're still growing. It has picked up quite a bit in the last year, and once you're up and running and you have traffic, it's nice to band together with other publishers to try and make ad sales. And we have some really talented ad sales people in our network who are helping to make that happen. And we also have Selfie, which it might be an idea to eventually watch the Selfie demo. But Selfie is basically self-serve text advertising, and we have a lot of updates coming for Selfie too. For the network, this hasn't been updated in a while, but we probably have double the publishers. We can see we have Hoboken 411, More Monmouth Musings, Red Bank Green, BaristaNet, and Cliffy Pilot. So I guess Cliffy Pilot, oh there it is, Cliffy Pilot. So we have a lot of publishers in the area, and we're also bringing a lot of schools into the network. Right now, we started it last year. It was kind of a test to see how it run. We had Caldwell, West Caldwell, who else? Verona Public Schools, and there was a third which escapes me, which I think should be ready in September to be part of this network. We may add a few more schools in this network, but Schools, it turns out, are a very popular target for advertisers, and it's nice to, Annette Batson, who's a very talented salesperson for BristaNet, has been selling ads for Barista Kids, but they also land on the Verona Public Schools and Caldwell, West Caldwell website. So she's kind of been the queen of the ad network and taking care of all of that in North New Jersey. So if you want to get involved in the ad network, we've had a few deals with some fairly large companies. One of them, Harrah's Casino, who wanted to hit a lot of the publications, a lot of the news publications in New Jersey. When they approached us, I said, it is a network of independent local news publishers. I didn't think that, it was really a target for the casino. I said, no, that's exactly what we want. So they ended up running a deal, and it landed, I think, about 8 or 10 publishers. Maybe it was eight publishers on the network. So that's something to think about once you get up and running to join the network. So you don't have to just receive the ads. Anybody who wants to sell on this network, let's just say you have your own site, you have an advertiser, maybe a car dealership who wants to run an ad, maybe hit parts of Bergen County. Northwest Bergen Press and Cliffview Pilot would be awesome, awesome targets for that kind of ad. So you could actually broker that deal yourself. You could build in your own markup. So if Cliffview Pilot charges X, you can charge X plus Y, whatever your markup is, and that's kind of how our network works. If your ad is sold through our network, so not if you sell your own ads, we don't touch any part of that. But if an ad on your website is sold through our network, Broadstreet takes a 20% commission. So that's our fee structure for the network. So that is it for the basic setup. What I'll do now is I'll go through a very basic setup of a very basic and unrehearsed setup of Blargo on our Broadstreet Sandbox site. So I'm at sandbox.broadsheetads.com. You can see this is the way it looks right now. I don't have anything set up. I used it for another demo of our ad server, and that's actually something to look at. One. All right, so I don't know if you heard that, but it was a knock and the housekeeping call, so I had to take care of that. So getting back to the demo, if I can remember where I was. Okay, so here we are at sandbox.broadsheetads.com. This is the inside of WordPress. You can see I don't have Largo set up yet. So when you're setting up Largo, the most important thing you can do is follow this installation guide to a T. It has everything you need. So it talks about the prerequisites, talks about WP Engine again, gives a pitch for that. It talks about where you can get Largo, where you can get Blargo. So use these links to get Largo and Blargo because they are set up in a specific way where they'll be compatible with each other. Largo has some weird naming schemes in some of its files, so we have this automatic script that constantly pulls the latest Largo code, changes some things around, and gets it ready to be packaged with Blargo. And then you'll also need the Blargo package, because remember, Blargo is a child theme of Largo. And so install the required plugins. As soon as you install these, Largo's going to complain that, let me see something. As soon as you install these, Largo's going to complain that you don't have some plugins installed. That's because it requires certain plugins, and that's fine. So install those, and then we'll talk. Activate your ad manager. So you'll see that getting set up with Broadsheet is actually fairly simple, and we'll walk you through creating ads and using the Broadsheet dashboard. So we have screenshots here. It's very verbose, but that it also doesn't really. There's really no way to go wrong if you follow these instructions right here. And then once you're done with that, you can go to the tips and tricks page. And then you can do some of the more, use some of the more advanced features of Blargo and Broadstreet. So in-story ads, multiple ads per zone, add specific categories. So this is that keyword targeting, if I didn't call it keyword. So targeting to specific sections, we call keyword targeting in Broadstreet. So you'll need to check this out to actually do that, because there's a little bit of a setup. Takes about 5 minutes, but the structure of your URLs and things like that is important if you're going to use keyword targeting. And is that all we have for this page? It is. Okay, so let's go to this is usually once you have this first step done, you should be totally fine. So what we're going to do, we're going to go, actually we need to go back to that Broadstreet website. We're going to go to the installation guide. And we are going to go right down to where it says download Blargo. We're going to download that. You're going to see it start downloading. And then we're going to download Blargo. Okay, so now I have those two files, and like I said, this is completely unrehearsed, so anything that, I've done it a bunch of times, but anytime you're doing something for a demo, it's definitely going to fail. So go to themes. This is what you do. This is the Broadstreet dashboard if you don't recognize it. Appearance is where the look and feel and everything like that is set, and what we're going to do is say add new. I want to upload a theme. Choose a file, and we're going to pick Largo first. Alright, so Largo installed, and if we go to our themes page, see that we have Project Largo, base theme. So now we're going to go back to add new one more time. We're going to go to upload theme, and now we need to upload the Blargo theme. Install that. Alright, so it says the parent theme, Project Largo base theme 01 is currently installed, so that's a good thing. So now we're going to go to the themes page, and we should see there we go. Remember, I'm on the air card or the cell phone service, so things are a little slower. So we should be able to activate this. And now the Blargo theme is activated. So nothing's really set up yet. And if we go to the site, it's probably going to look hideous, but we know what it can look like, so that's a good thing. So here's Sandbox. Oh man, things are all over the place. They're awfully ugly. So the next thing we want to do is actually just follow the installation guide. So install the required plugins. So we should see something. There it is. So this is the notice. It says you need to install all these things. So let's say begin installing plugins. Let's see how that works. And sure, install them. Okay, so what's interesting here is that installed all these plugins. They seem like dependencies. You might think it just seems like a lot of bloat to have, but they actually do a lot of really interesting things. The slideshow, which you're probably going to want on the front of your site. The discuss comment system, which is very popular. There's a W3 total cache, which is good for caching. WordPress might actually complain and eventually ask you WP Engine might complain about W3 total cache and ask you to uninstall it. But so far I don't think I've heard anything along those lines from anyone. But I know WP Engine does its own caching. Google XML sitemaps, which is basically so Google knows the structure of your site and has links to all of your content, and it's also handy for things like who shows up in Google News feeds and things like that. And I thought we had if we don't have it in here, there's one other plugin you might want to install. It's called Yoast, and that's for some more SEO kind of stuff. So making sure you show up at the top of Google. So I'll search for that here. So WordPress SEO by Yoast, very, very popular. And I think it's actually on the WordPress.org plugins page, the feature plugins page. So if we wanted to, I think I can do that here. I think I have it set up. So I can install plugins. Select the plugin. And then I'll activate that plugin there. Oh, and there's all this other stuff I can still activate. So I'm on the plugins page. I'm just going to pick activate and apply that to all of them. And I get a whole lot of notices. let's see, so I got some W3 total cache. Go to your reading settings, so you can see there's all these helpful messages that I can take care of. All right, so let's just, we won't go through the entire Blargo setup process, but if you follow that installation guide, you'd be totally fine. I can feel that I'm already boring everyone in the room to death. So let's just skip right to the ad manager because that's the important part. Your Broadstreet settings have not been entered yet. Broadstreet is a service that helps you manage your ads. So this is your account management, where you get your Broadstreet account. In order to get that account, sign up here. And actually this is important. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to say Blargo test user. I'm going to type Blargo test, actually Kenny plus Blargo test at broadstreetads.com. That way it goes to me anyway. And I'm going to check that off. It's going to ask me to go through a quick setup. So I'll have to set up a publication. And I'm going to agree to some terms here. It's totally fine. Don't read it, just accept it. Just kidding. It's just a lot of legal stuff regarding the network and all that. So let's say Blargo test site. I can pick the light tier, or I can pick the authority tier. Authority tier, if you want to use the keywords and the targeting different sections, you'll want to pick authority. It's $50 per 1 million impressions. And it's completely free until you hit 100,000 impressions. So the point is for the foreseeable future, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're probably not going to have any costs associated with your Broadstreet account. So there isn't going to be any fee. At the point where you're actually serving ads, which is a good thing, which means you've sold ads and they're running on your site, that's where you're going to start seeing charge, but it's fairly margin-free ad serving. Our ad server, although it's our core product, isn't our core revenue stream, so it is very low margin ad serving. And if you want to, you can drop down to light. You can switch between the tiers at any given time. If you go to broadstreetads.com, you'll see the differences between the tiers. So very quickly, I'm going to go to create network, and then you can see up here it says access token. This is important. If you follow the installation guide, it would point you here too. What I need this token because I need to go back to the ad manager here, and I need to set up, I need to link up my new Blargo installation with it. All right, and then it pulls in the site that I just created on the Broadstreet end. You see there's only Blargo test site, so I'm going to save that here. It says you're almost ready. Now we'll need to get automatically set up for ads. So this is one really cool thing that Broadstreet does. If we go over here, we see I have Blargo test site. If I go to my zones, I have nothing set up in my Broadstreet account yet. So what this actually does is sets up all the zones for you. So we're just click get set up for ads. And it says you're all set up. So if I go back to this page on the Broadstreet end, the Broadstreet dashboard, you're going to see that I have all my zones set up. My sidebar zone number 1 through 5. I have some extra zones, auxiliary zone number 1 through 3. And it tells you to rename those because you'll probably not want to keep them under that name. And then if I go to my widgets page in WordPress, you are going to see that I have this new widget, and I'm just going to create. So I have this new widget. It's called Ad Zone, and it says Monster Ad Zone 900 by 60. So I have all the zones. So if anything that I create on the Broadstreet end, if I created an ad and I placed it in one of these zones, as long as I had this widget placed, it would show up in that spot. So this would show up at the very top, the leaderboard ad. Maybe we should actually try that. I didn't set up anything on the site yet. I didn't set up a logo or anything like that. Wondering if whether it's worth it to go over because we're already pushing 40 minutes here. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is our site right now. Obviously, it's got a lot of work to do. We need to add posts and things like that. We can go to the theme options page. This is probably the most important part for getting your site set up, obviously also listed in the installation guide. We have the basic site settings, the site information, feed URL, things like that. Probably what you'll care most about is the layout options. So if you want something like the basic Broadstreet site right here, or the Blargo site right here, this is your layout option. You can have the slider right here. You can choose how things show up on your site. Different sidebar option. You can see that for the Broadstreet options, there are also some different color schemes, the background option you have. But let's see if I save this, and then I go to theme images, upload a logo. Where's my logo? You know what? I think I can use so I can pick text. So I won't upload a logo now, just to save time, and we still need to fix this sidebar right here. I think they're in the wrong widget area. So main sidebar, we'll move all these down here. And I guess they should be ready.